Good, happy Tuesday morning, August 31st, 2021. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Tuesday morning edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. It's time to rise and shine and grab that good cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy this Tuesday morning edition of The Morning Show with Riley King, where we have a little bit of everything for you in this program. So, let's get started right now. First up, desperate search for survivors after powerful Hurricane Ida. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Are you using Liberty Mutual's coverage customizer tool? So you only pay for what you need. Sorry. Tonight, with the urgent search and rescue operation underway, tonight after Hurricane Ida slammed into Louisiana, into New Orleans, one of the most powerful hurricanes ever to hit. Hurricane Ida making landfall near Port Fourchon, Louisiana, as an extremely dangerous Category 4 storm, with winds 150 miles per hour and those reported wind gusts reaching 172 miles per hour. And then remaining a Category 4 storm for an astonishing 6 hours, tearing through southeast Louisiana, ripping parts of the city of Lockport to shreds. In New Orleans, the new levees after Katrina did hold. That was reassuring, but the city's reinforced power grid did not. Tonight, more than 1 million customers across Louisiana are without power, and the utility now warning it could take weeks to restore. No way to charge phones. For many, no way to call for help. Hospitals filled with COVID patients had no choice but to shelter in place. This hospital, the roof torn off, Ochsner Health System transferring about 165 patients after some of their buildings suffered damage. Tonight, the images of the Coast Guard, the helicopters taking off as soon as they could to try to assess the damage, out searching for people who stayed in their homes, reports some trapped in their attics for many hours, some waving to the Coast Guard above. Tonight, we know of at least 2 deaths. The governor saying tonight that we should be prepared for that number to rise. This storm is still moving across the south and then right up into the northeast. There are real concerns going into tonight and, of course, the days ahead. Ginger Z standing by to time it all out, but first, what's been left behind by this devastating hurricane? ABC's chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, leading us off tonight in Houma, Louisiana.
Hurricane Ida slamming Louisiana as a monstrous Category 4 with reported wind gusts topping 170 miles per hour. And tonight, the scope of the destruction becoming easier to see, but harder to bear. Entire communities almost wiped off the map. More than 1 million customers now without power. The outages could last for weeks, and officials fear the death toll will rise.
There's somebody in there, I think.
The massive search and rescue operation ramping up since the storm hit. This woman pulled out of her flooded car. We traveled to hard-hit La Place, just west of New Orleans. Rescuers in boats and helicopters desperately trying to reach those trapped in flooded homes. Where the town had been, now a lake, accessible only by boat and by aircraft. Scenes defying the imagination. The hurricane toppling semi-trucks, submerging cars. Helicopters swooping down, landing on Interstate 10 to scoop up the most vulnerable, including that woman in the wheelchair. As we arrived, we saw the storm's refugees walking off that exit ramp, carrying what was most dear. Some of them trying to hitch rides from strangers. All of them hoping to get to safety. Michael from the Cajun Navy offered to take us in.
This entire town is submerged. We're driving on the main street.
And there we saw a flotilla of small boats on the water, carrying out the stranded and the exhausted. And it was on dry land that we met these two.
You guys didn't expect it to be this bad, did
We
you?
didn't expect it to be this bad, and we stayed because we were in a 2-story home, and we thought we would have been safe. The rain just kept coming. It wouldn't stop coming. The rain just stopped.
We pushed further into La Place, seeing entire neighborhoods submerged. The stranded flagging down anyone with a boat.
We put a line there. That's where the water was at.
Jackie and Denise Cooper's mother, Lucille, is disabled, and they asked me to help get her down the stairs.
You guys gonna come back?
No.
Did you think at any point that you might not make it?
Yeah.
Michael had gone back to get help. He needed more votes. Sure enough, within half an hour, he was back. We then drove to the hard-hit city of Homa. On the way, so much destruction. That pair of helicopters flying low, looking for survivors. Ida tearing across Grand Isle like a buzzsaw. New images tonight showing the barrier island underwater. Officials tonight still haven't been able to reach many of the dozens of people who stayed behind there in defiance of mandatory evacuation orders. Just over 30 miles from there, the Coast Guard surveying the damage near Galliano for the first time. Homes shredded, roads flooded. This chopper flying a patient to a hospital. At least one levee was overtopped in Plaquemines Parish, south of the city, and reports of people trapped in their attics in Jefferson Parish.
This is an area that, if you want to think of it like swampland, there's alligators out there.
Our Ginger Z in nearby Jefferson Parish, just south of New Orleans.
The town of Lafitte has one way in and one way out, and that one way is covered by water. They are protected up to 7 feet. Their levees were overtopped during the storm.
Rescuers doing everything they can to reach survivors.
From house to house, we're going past them, and if people want to be evacuated, we're putting them on the boats to get them out.
President Biden declaring a major disaster in Louisiana, promising a vast federal response.
That's our job. If we work together, we're going to stand with you and the people of the Gulf as long as it takes for you to recover.
And tonight, the concern in the hours ahead is the people still stuck in their homes without 911 and without power. Many now turning to social media.
Right now, we're checking on everybody that we can.
Concerned families messaging Vincent Ocello over Facebook, asking him to check on their missing loved ones. And stranded residents reportedly giving a thumbs up to the Coast Guard, waiting to get out.
And Matt Gutman, just extraordinary reporting all night long, all day long. He's with us from Homa. And Matt, more than 1 million customers, as we said, without power. And they said possibly for weeks. And I know there are reports many people are still stranded tonight. You're learning new information about the rescue operation underway.
It is breathtaking in scale, that rescue operation. Already 5,000 National Guards here, more on the way. Virtually every local and state and federal agency sending personnel and vehicles. And, of course, hundreds from the Cajun Navy with their high water vehicles and shallow draft boats. And perhaps what we saw in Laplace encapsulates everything. The Cajun Navy scooping people up from that high water, ferrying them to the interstate where Coast Guard and National Guard helicopters took them to safety. I'm told they're going to continue working until nightfall and then start right back up in the morning. Hundreds, David, have been rescued so far.
We're thinking about everyone there in Louisiana tonight. Matt, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. America's longest war comes to an end 20 years later. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Life has a funny way. The American general who late today declared America's longest war was now over after nearly 20 years. The last C-17 lifted off from Kabul, Afghanistan at 3:29 Eastern Time, saying every single U.S. service member is now out of Afghanistan. General Frank McKenzie, the commander of U.S. Central Command, saying there is a lot of heartbreak that they did not get everybody out. There are still some Americans there, and there are many Afghan allies who had hoped to get out. More than 123,000 civilians were airlifted out since August 14th, including 6,000 Americans, and flights taking off until the end. The last one taking off, as I said, 3:29 p.m. Eastern, which in Kabul was 1 minute to midnight before that August 31st deadline set by President Biden. General McKenzie saying the final chapter is perhaps one of the most painful, with the loss of those 13 U.S. service members. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell was in Afghanistan when the Taliban was pushed out in 2001. Tonight, the Taliban back in control. And Ian this evening, and the American general who was asked to reflect on the reality that the U.S. now leaves behind and the potential threats ahead.
With the final flights out of Kabul late today, four-star Marine General Frank McKenzie saying America's longest war was over after almost 20 years.
The last C-17 lifted off from Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 30th this afternoon at 3:29 p.m. East Coast time. And the last manned aircraft is now clearing the airspace above Afghanistan.
Nearly 20 years since the attacks of 9/11 and the killing of Osama bin Laden in 2011. Troops staying on the ground for another decade. The general speaking of the human cost of war. The American service members lost too.
It was not a cheap mission. The cost was 2,461 U.S. service members and civilians killed, and more than 20,000 who were injured. Sadly, that includes 13 U.S. service members who were killed last week by an ISIS-K suicide bomber.
He spoke of this painful loss of the service members this week and was asked about the remaining Americans and Afghan allies and the interpreters who helped the U.S. over the years.
Look, there's a lot of heartbreak associated with this departure. We did not get everybody out that we wanted to get out.
The general saying this final chapter was perhaps one of the most painful. The crowds outside the gate and the loss of the 13 service members. When asked about the U.S. servicemen and women that were in Afghanistan, he said this.
Every single U.S. service member is now out of Afghanistan. I can say that with 100% certainty.
And General McKenzie, who did multiple tours in Afghanistan, was asked about leaving this country to Taliban control.
I was very conflicted, actually. But right now, I'm pretty much consumed with the operational task at hand.
The general, very matter-of-fact, late today, but it is a profound day for this country nearly 20 years later. Ian Pannell with us live from Doha, Qatar tonight. And Ian, the general mentioned the number of Americans left behind is now in the low hundreds. He said there will still be efforts to get Americans out. He also said the efforts to get out Afghan allies will continue. But of course, we know the Taliban is back in control. How is this going to work in the weeks, the months, and perhaps the years to come?
Yeah, that's right. The Taliban is in control of the country, apart from the president's of ISIS-K. We've seen them at the airport. They've issued a statement saying the Americans have left. Afghanistan is independent. The sound of gunfire in the air. The UN calling for safe passage for Americans and Afghans, but few on the ground believe they'll honor that. David?
Ian Pannell, our thanks to you.
Hi, everyone. George.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Education Department opens investigation into ban of masks mandate. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
If sweat is your body's natural way of cooling itself down.
The alarming news on the pandemic tonight, the number of COVID cases in children soaring across the U.S., nearly 204,000 new pediatric cases in a week. And there is that developing headline on booster shots. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
The government says there are more children in America tonight rushing into hospitals with COVID-19 than at any other point in this pandemic. And that just last week, there were nearly 204,000 new cases reported of sick children, the second highest week on record.
We are worried, how are things going to be when kids go back to school? If we're seeing this now.
This worrying report card is frightening health officials, just as students in Chicago, for example, are heading back to schoolrooms for the first time in nearly 18 months. The Department of Education tonight, they're pushing for face coverings in schools. And they're taking a big step with a new civil rights investigation into 5 states where Republican governors have made it illegal for school districts to require masks. The feds are arguing that those states are discriminating against students with compromised immune systems and other issues.
This is about protecting students and giving them the opportunity to learn in person where they learn best.
On the issue of booster shots, an advisory panel for experts here at the CDC just finished wrapping up debate on whether to support the president's plan to get these shots to unvaccinated Americans. There was lots of discussion, no decision. The president is hoping to see widespread distribution of booster shots starting September 20th. David?
We await word on those boosters. A lot of interest there. Steve Osunsami. Steve, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephan.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Stocks features are flat as the S&P 500 looks to wrap up its 7th winning month in a row. Stock features were flat on Tuesday as the S&P 500 looks to wrap up its 7th straight month of gains at a record high. And we are going to switch gears now, and let's go into weather. And here is a look at the weather across the United States for this Tuesday. As you can see in the green here, you're seeing some rain/thunderstorms here and here, and over here as well. In the red, you have heavy rain/flash flooding possible. In the yellow here is some severe thunderstorms possible. And over here, just rain, as you can see. But over here, it is dry, as you can see. And over here is dry as well, and dry over here as well. And that is a look at your weather across the United States for this Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. And we're going to switch gears now. And let's take a look at this. Broadway legend teams with Oprah Winfrey to celebrate the return of Broadway. Broadway is returning. Let's take a listen to this video from ABC News. Good morning, America.
Cue Rachel Ray.
Hey friends, today we're whipping up some delicious recipes. So, who's hungry?
Pets love Rachel Ray Nutrish and its kitchen-inspired recipes with real meat, poultry, or fish. Rachel Ray Nutrish. Real recipes, real ingredients, real good.
We are so pleased to say that Broadway is back with the highly anticipated reopening of 6 musicals over the next few weeks, including, all of these, The Lion King, Wicked, Hamilton, Chicago, and the Broadway Wing partnered with the one and only Oprah Winfrey to celebrate with this tribute.
This is Broadway.
This is for you, Billy.
Where time stops every time a show starts.
Patiently waiting, I'm passionate, passionate, expectation and reaction to that creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties of sorrow. For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow. Not throwing away my shirt.
This is the return of something truly spectacular. Live is more alive than ever.
Think of our show and the thrill and pleasure it could give to millions. Think of Broadway, damn it!
This is Broadway, and we can't wait to welcome you home.
Oprah said it. We can't wait. Make sure you stay tuned to GMA in the upcoming weeks as we showcase the best and brightest Broadway has to offer, including 14 special musical performances from the cast of Aladdin, Come From Away, the brand new musical 6, The Lion King, so many more, all right here in our backyard.
Well, hey there, GMA fans.
Okay, there you go. Very cool indeed. So excited for Broadway to return. And we are going to switch gears now. Let's go into entertainment news. And in entertainment news, Jennifer Lopez stuns in a cape and crown at Delos and Gabbana show in Valencia. Let's take a listen to that video from Entertainment Tonight.
Floral cape, epic tiara, ruby earrings. J-Lo ruled the runway show, owning every inch of her royal look. Perfection. With just one glitch, as J-Lo stepped into her water taxi headed to the fashion show, you could see her cape's price tag still attached.
J. Hud, who looked glam in gold, performed and called it a fairy tale weekend in Venice. More star power, Oscar winner Helen Mirren en route in a gold bodice. Vanessa Bryant gorgeous in teal and sharing this video with Ciara. That's Vin Diesel popping his head in.
This boat is lit.
Zoe Saldana was stunning in all black and BB Rexa smoldered in silver metallic. Another highlight, proud celeb parents. Diddy was a super proud dad watching his 3 daughters, Chance, Delilah, and Jessie, walk the runway. In fact, the music mogul was so overwhelmed, he wrote, "Words can't explain. Love." And Heidi Klum's daughter, 17-year-old Lenny, was a vision in blue as she arrived on a gondola. Heidi shared video of Lenny on the runway and called this moment the smile when she sees mom. Love that. Earlier, mother and daughter twinned in silver sequins. Lenny called it matching with mommy.
Are you so proud?
I'm super proud. It's just weird, when all of a sudden, it's your child and all of a sudden she's a young woman, going to work. It's crazy.
What kind of advice could you give to a future model like her?
Always just go with your gut. Don't let people tell you what to do. Always do you.
Okay, there you go. Very cool indeed. And that does it for this edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. Thank you for joining us for this Tuesday edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. Goodbye, everyone.